Welcome to Rock the Podcast. This is the official Interview Connections podcast. My name is Margie Feltune. I am the CEO and co-owner of Interview Connections, and I am so excited about today's episode. I have our amazing client, Stacy, who is an expert in many areas and recently was so helpful for me personally. She helped me have this incredible breakthrough, and we wanted to share it on the show because it is so relevant to you and to your business and to your podcast guest appearances. So Stacy, before we dive in, will you tell everyone more about you and all the incredible things that you do?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to be here with you. So it's funny, and I'll just share this real quick before I share about myself. You, Margie, actually helped me make this beautiful connection to what I, made the right sharp turn to go and pursue from my real estate career of 15 years. And so if you remember, we were having a conversation and you had so beautifully pointed out that it was interesting, that I had been helping people find homes for the last 15 years externally. And now I'm helping women find their internal home. And I'm also the utility company helping them activate all of their power and turn on all the power. So I added that to that. But so anyway, just a little bit about me. So I have been in the real estate space for the last 15 years. I still have that booming real estate business, and we also develop and build homes as well. And throughout the years, I've always noticed that my time was spent helping people connect to their power on my team versus going and doing the tactics of real estate. And so, it was really on my heart to step into my purpose, which is helping high-profile women turn and activate their power so that they can identify what I refer to as like leaks in the boat and seal those leaks so that all of the power that is draining, that's more unconscious, can be redirected to build 8, 9-figure and beyond type businesses, because it's those types of things that get you from 7 figures to 8 to 9 and beyond. And so that's been my work really since, last June, when I made this sharp right-hand turn. And I'm excited to be here with you and talk about more today.
I am so glad to have you. And so just diving in your background, so you were young when you started building your real estate business, right? You had a lot of success really young in business.
Yes. Yep. So I started my real estate career at 19. And by the time I was 25, we were the number 3 team in the entire state, our MLS. And I really went all in, when I started, because I saw this opportunity to up-level the experience for consumers. And by doing that and creating a great reputation, I could inspire other agents to behave similarly and, really just improve their level of customer service and what they did. And so that was, the early inspiration for me, was to change the face of real estate in that way so that it could be a more professional experience, enjoyable experience for consumers. And so that journey, led me to then building my team and leading the team, in that same way so that they could have that more exponential effect to our clients.
I love it. And I love that you've made this sharp right turn into coaching women and really unlocking their power, not necessarily with like strategies and tactics, but with that deeper stuff. And it's so powerful what you're doing. And so a little background, I just had an offer accepted on my first home. Very exciting. And luckily, I am good friends with Stacy, who happens to be both an expert in real estate and energy and mindset. And I had never experienced really anything to do with real estate because I'd just been renting. And I came into the market to buy during a time that is very intense in a lot of markets, especially in the market that I was shopping in. The impact of COVID caused a huge, surge in buyers and demand and not as much inventory. So you've got a lot of people competing for a few houses. And I'm also a pretty particular person. So I had like a long list on my phone of must-haves for the house. So I get out there and I start like seriously looking at the MLS listings and starting to look at houses. And it was energetically a pretty intense experience because it's so emotional, first of all, the idea of home, externally or internally. And this idea kept getting in my head that it's so hard to buy right now. It's so hard to get your offer accepted. And in the area I was looking at, things were escalating. Offers were, $80K over asking and still not good enough, no contingencies, all cash, that people were getting, having an open house for 2 days and then they'd have 10 way over asking offers. I mean, it was wild. Luckily, I didn't really know any different because it's my first buying experience, but people told me it was crazy and I started to believe it. And I started to really get in my own head that this is really hard. Getting an offer accepted in this market when, I'm not coming in with a full cash offer like some of these other buyers are, is going to be really hard. And luckily, I had Stacy, who was there for me for my mindset and has the real estate know-how. And that was such an incredible combination. So I want you to share what you shared with me, Stacy. And this biggest turning point was I had made an offer and it wasn't accepted. And it was very, like, if you ever had that happen, it's very crushing because you feel like it's your house already, even though it's not. So it was very emotional to make what I thought was a really good offer. And then to have it be, I think 4 people were higher than me. Like, it wasn't even a contender. And I then made an offer on another house that I really wanted. And I was like, I learned so much from the last one. I know what contingencies to take off. I know, how high we should be going. And I said to Cece, it was something like, I think this offer is good enough that we'll win. And Stacy's like, okay. So will you share the piece of wisdom that you shared with me, which really did change the energy of like the whole thing?
Yeah, so beautiful. And you're so open, which I just love that about you. So there's so many layers, when we're pursuing something, but just to specifically speak to that turning point, because it was so interesting. I was actually driving while we were texting back and forth. By the way, everyone, I was voice memoing. I was not texting and driving, but it wasn't even a thought like of, I'm going to say this or anything. It was this downloadable moment, if you will, where you had said, I hope it's good enough to win. And I had said, what if you shifted that perspective to my offer is good enough? I know I have checked all the boxes. I have a beautiful borrower profile, like literally like lenders and realtors running all over the nation to work with you, Mark. Like, you've done everything so well. And be confident in that piece, because that piece, if it wavers at all, is the thing that triggers us to want to win, which is separation, right? That it's in the ego. And so I suggested, what if you consider that it be for the highest and best good of everyone involved? And when we can shift our focus to that and focus on that, win for you, win for the seller, and win for the collective. Because there's also this collective we're not thinking about in the moment, right? Where, Tom down the street and Beth down the street, like, they want to sell too. They need this comparable to close, so that they can also sell their home successfully.
I love it so much. The shift was like instantaneous. When you said, what about focusing on the highest and best good for everyone? It went from a feeling that felt very constricted and kind of isolating and like, I come from a sales background. I'm pretty competitive, but that whole winning and losing mentality can be so dangerous and it just doesn't feel good. Like, the energy doesn't flow. And this shift immediately when I was like, it wasn't like, okay, I want to make an offer that's high enough, but I don't want it to be too high. Like, I don't want to be higher than anybody else because I don't want to lose money. When it became like, I want the sellers to be psyched about this offer too. Like, I want the realtors who are getting commission to be psyched about this commission. Like, I want us to be so happy. Like, and even to the point of like my landlord of my current apartment, like everybody involved. And when I shift that, I immediately felt better. Our offer was accepted. It was accepted in a way that was crazy. There was the 3 highest offers, including ours, were within only $1,000 of each other. And partly it was the contingencies, but a big part of it, they said, was my letter to them. And because I had this energy of truly wanting the best for them, they could feel it in the letter. It wasn't like I said something fancy or special in the letter, but they could just feel that. And it came together perfectly. The date they wanted to close on is actually the last month that we're in this apartment on the lease, so we don't have to break our lease. It's enough time for the landlord to find somebody new. Like, really, it's just been such smooth sailing for everybody. And it's blown my mind. And it really was this concept that you taught me that changed everything.
And it's amazing because when you operate in the space of the highest and best good of everyone involved, you start to play on a different level completely. It's not just in that situation. As you can see, a ripple effect starts to happen where all of a sudden, it's the same date as the apartment. Like, they don't have any idea that, you have to be out. So it's this really amazing ripple effect that's caused. And to your point, about it being constricting prior to, adopting the mindset of for the highest and best good, that constricting piece, the separation, that's what can hold us back unconsciously. And so it's such an amazing, again, like ripple effect, adopting this mindset, because you move from constriction and fear to possibility, abundance, expansiveness.
Yes. And people just respond to that. I mean, you can feel the difference if somebody's constricted and in fear. It's not that they're a bad person, but when you interact with that person, you're probably kind of like, I don't know about them. Like, I don't know if I really like being around them. And then when someone's super open and they want the best for you and everyone, you're just like, oh, I want to be around them. Like, if they ask me for something, I want to say yes. So there's the energetic piece that's just sort of, I don't fully understand, like law of attraction stuff, which definitely works. But then there's also just like the straightforward, it changes how you carry yourself when you're thinking that way. And people pick up on those little cues and just like you more and trust you more. They probably don't even know why, but there's just something about you that they trust. And one of the reasons I love this so much for a topic for this show is because we've been talking for years about the huge part that mindset plays in the success that a guest has on a podcast in terms of their ROI. And I don't think we've done a great job of expressing it, at least not as well as I think you have right here, because we've been saying, mindset to serve, like hosts just pick up on it. Like, when you're the type of person who wants to give, who wants to serve, who wants it to be a win-win, those people always see a bigger financial ROI. They get more clients, the host wants to work with them. And it's one of those things, it's not a tactic or a strategy for monetization, but it's just as important. And I think a great way to say it, Stacy, is what you said. When you're a guest on a podcast, if you truly want the highest and best good for everyone, for you, for the host, for the audience, that's when the magic happens and it turns into clients and money in your business.
Yes. Yeah. And what came to mind was, while you were just saying that, is I think monetizing, the mic, like your hashtag and everything that Rock the Podcast is, the piece that I want to really call out is, I think a lot of people are like, you're either, in contribution or you're in fear and lack, and you don't have a choice. And what I'm here to tell you today is that you have a choice and you can make it in the moment, because it ties into the 2 internal states that we all have access to, which is fear and love. Like, you've heard it before, right? fear and love, there's a beautiful state or a suffering state. And what we're talking about is like, if you want to use podcast guesting to completely, explode in your business in the best way, you have a choice to lead, to be pitched, to vibrate in a beautiful state for the highest and best good of everyone. Even if you have in the past had moments where you've questioned, even if you've been in fear or you don't know how to do it, all you have to do is make the choice. I am open now to step into the highest and best good of everyone and everything involved, and show me the way. And your guidance will show you the way.
That's such a great point, because it's really not about being perfect or beating yourself up. If you've done some podcast interviews and you were really, focused on, I need to get sales from this for it to be worth my time, and I'm worried about my business, and maybe they didn't go so well, and you're now hearing this and being like, okay, it's okay. Like, I love that you said that, Stacy. It's okay. You can start right now. You can start the next interview that you do. Experiment with this. Take a few minutes to set an intention before, going on. And you can even say this to the host. You can say, this is what my goal is for this. It can start. I love that you said that. You can start right away.
Yeah. And one more thing you just said is be very conscious when you go on your podcast, guesting in any podcast, anytime you're frankly doing anything, but for our purposes, for podcasting, is set the intention of what state you want to operate from. Because in the conversation, something might come up that triggers you, or you get off track in some way, and you even have the opportunity to shift in the moment. And so set that intention for who you want to be, how you want to show up, and your internal energy that you want to bring to the table, because that can be transforming for the host as well, and of course the audience.
Yeah, that's so true. It's the energy is so powerful. Like, when you listen to a 30-minute interview with somebody with bad energy, you start to feel bad, and you have that power as a guest to show up with the opposite of that, with love, with good energy. And then you're impacting all these people that you don't even know in such a positive way. It's so powerful, and it's very, I think, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love it.
All right. So thank you so much, Stacy, for personally helping me and voice messaging back and forth with me like a crazy person, and being willing to share this, because this is so valuable. Everybody, when you go out on your next podcast, or even right now, even if you don't have one scheduled, put it out there for your interviews that you want the highest and best good for everyone, and let us know how that transforms things for you. Stacy, how can they connect with you and follow the cool stuff you're doing?
Yes. So the best way is via my website, which is thetruthteachers.com, and all of our emails, social handles, everything is on that site.
Okay, amazing. We'll link to that in the show notes too. Thank you so much, Stacy.
Thank you, Margie.